Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. Well, we got ourselves a series. It is a good evening to you and how you be. William Haynes here, you there, here on this early Wednesday morning at 12:06 here on the William Haynes Show, as always live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. Rays post-game show. Rays win 7-5 over the New York Yankees. It was Tyler Glasnow getting his first ever postseason career victory, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's got to be right. Good to see him. He goes 5 innings, a 4-run ball, just a couple of pitches that gets away from him. The bullpen, let's just say that it was exciting. The offense certainly does its part. Austin Meadows with the home run, finally getting back in the action. Randy Arozarena continues his ways of hitting the crap out of the baseball. And Mike Zunino as well. I mean, Mike Zunino is turning out to be a really valuable player right now in the month of October. Not just what he's doing behind the plate defensively, but now hitting home runs in both games in this series, or I believe the second home run of the postseason. I'm getting all kinds of mixed up. Crazy times right now. Again, the ALDS, the best of 5, is now tied 1 game apiece. So essentially now we're looking at a best of 3 between the Rays and the New York Yankees. Before I wanted to do anything else, what we're going to do, we have a little bit of a monologue clip prepared. I'll say a couple things. We'll take a break, allow some of your guys' calls to roll in, and then after that, we'll tell you everything that you need to know about tonight's Rays win. I got the scorebook in front of me, got the play-by-play. We'll tell you inning by inning, everything you need to know. But until then, here's a monologue clip that I put together. Keep in mind, I put it together obviously before tonight's game, so it was kind of a lot of game 1 stuff. Here it is.
Now, all of a sudden, you're going against the hottest team in baseball in the Rays, and they just kind of dismantled the Blue Jays pretty easily, destroyed them yesterday, and they're just waiting in the weeds to take out the Yankees. The $28 million Rays are waiting to take out the Yankees. Think about that for 1 second.
Well, again, if you go with the numbers, the Rays won 8 of 10 against the Yankees and dominated them during the regular season. But let's just throw that out. And let's look at a Yankees team that's going to have Garrett Cole, maybe the best pitcher left in the playoffs, pitching twice in 5 games. And because of that, I give the slight advantage to the New York Yankees. They have the offense. It's absolutely on fire right now. The Rays need to be able to score runs off Garrett Cole, and if they don't, the Yankees are going to win this series. But I think it's going to go 5 games. I think this will be a very competitive series.
I like the fact that 2 teams don't like each other. I love the fact that they might run pregame sprints in the outfield and not stop out in center field and talk to each other and have a good time.
Right.
I like the fact they don't like each other, but this is definitely a different Yankee team, especially the way they seem to flip that switch, shall we say, at the end of the season, go into Cleveland and do what they did.
For LeMahieu, Kiermaier will haul it in, and that first inning scoreless streak is over for Blake Snell. LeMahieu steps on the plate. The Yankees are on the board for and he rips one into center field. That had good wood on it. Hicks is going back. He's at the wall, and she's gone. Randy Arozarena squares it in one with a booming home run to center field. He has some thunder in his bat. Clint Frazier leading off, and he jumps on a pitch. That is way back. How far is that one going to fly? Clint Frazier sends one out of here. 2-1 Yankees. So Torres will reach. That'll load the bases. And here comes Clint Frazier now. And a swing and a foul tip into the mitt of Zunino. A strikeout for Blake Snell. That's a big out. Sets up Ji-Man Choi now. And that ball's hit hard in the left center field. That is way back. And Ji-Man has sent one out of here. 2-run blast for Ji-Man Choi. And just like that, the Tampa Bay Rays are on top 3-2. Kyle Higashioka will lead off. Get through this fifth. That ball's ripped deep in the left field. That is way back and gone. A long home run from the bottom of the order. Kyle Higashioka goes deep. And we're all tied at 3 for Tampa Bay. That ball's ripped. Judge in the left field and whistles one out of here. Aaron Judge, a frozen rope into the seats. Yankees are back on top 4-3. So they're loaded up here with 2 outs. Here it comes. It's a fastball at 100. He strikes him out. Garrett Cole just kept climbing the ladder. 2 outs add to their lead. It's 5-3. And they're loaded up with 1 out for Giancarlo Stanton. Curtis deals. Stanton in the air. Center field deep. On the run. Kiermaier running out of room. And she's gone. It's a grand slam for Giancarlo Stanton. A game breaker for Stanton and the Yankees. That's it. Lau strikes out. Sessa finishes the job, and the New York Yankees win Game 1.
At about this time yesterday, things were looking awfully bleak for the Rays. The Yankees took a commanding 1-0 lead in a best-of-5 after a 9-3 win. You recall it was Blake Snell getting touched up for 4 runs, pretty much an identical start to what Glasnow gave him, save for a couple of exceptions. Garrett Cole goes through 6. The Rays were hanging around. It was about 4-3 Yankees for pretty much most of the second half of the game. You get to the 9th inning, in comes John Curtis, and the Yankees pour on 5 runs. 4 of those coming on a grand slam for Giancarlo Stanton. He would add another 2 home runs in tonight's game, and really tormenting the Rays here in this series. But we were all really quite concerned. I think we should not have been. Garrett Cole obviously is probably the best pitcher in baseball, and he goes on the mound in Game 1. We thought that maybe Snell would cancel him out, and to some extent he did, and it was really the bullpen, which never really fails the Rays, at least in recent memory. John Curtis specifically letting him down, and the offense was only able to put up 3 runs on 6 hits, so there wasn't a whole lot going offensively. You heard with the clips there. Tonight, a totally different story for the Rays. 7 runs on 8 hits, a lot of home runs. The lineup 1 through 9 was really contributing, which was something that we did not see yesterday. And to hold the Yankees, still the 5 runs on the 5 hits, and it was pretty much just the home runs for Giancarlo Stanton once again that did the damage for the Yankees. But now, again, tying the series up, it's now a best of 3. I think with the way the starting pitching is going to line up, you certainly give the advantage to the Rays. It'll be Masahiro Tanaka v. Charlie Morton tomorrow. I think that game is probably a push, but Rays faithful like myself will probably give the nod to Morton, but we'll have to see how that goes. And then going into a potential Game 4, maybe 5, we'll have to see maybe how that would line up. But I think cautiously optimistic as I knock on the wood that the Rays will be able to come out on the winning end. So that's all I really have to say about that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a short break. We'll give you some of the scores from the baseball action today and take some of your calls. Actually, no, we have a call coming in right now. I'm going to go ahead and take that. We have Sebastian calling in from Canada. Sebastian, how are you tonight?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing good, thanks. Got to feel good about the race tonight, huh?
Yeah, it's good to see them pull out a win like that. As exciting as that last inning was.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think it ultimately was good that Fairbanks could have finished the inning, and I think his confidence is now high. But yeah, I think we were all very, very nervous with the tying run coming up to the plate in LeMahieu, and then they being up the go-ahead run and Judge, and they're able to get that out. Yeah, that was huge, and really just a crazy game and a fitting end, I'd say, to the end of it.
Yeah, I was thinking as the whole ninth inning was evolving, I'm thinking, this is kind of classic Pete, where he tends to walk more people than you'd like to see from a high leverage guy like him, but he always seems to find a way to pull himself out of that sort of pull himself out of that hole that he kind of digs himself into, because it seems like he walks a batter every time he comes up. Whether it's the first or second batter that he faces, he seems to have a bit of a hard time, just getting those perfect innings. But I mean, I've always had faith in him. I always think he's been a pretty solid reliever. And he got a pretty big break from the umpire today, in my opinion. That one call he got that was pretty far off the plate would have completely turned the inning against them. So lucky to have gotten that go our way. There was another thing. I'm glad to see that Glass now was able to locate a lot of his fastballs and his curveballs, especially because last night I was thinking, after watching Snell sort of have trouble locating his breaking balls, I'm thinking, I hope Glass now is picking up on this and he knows. And he did. He showed up and he did good.
Yeah, I would say with the points that you made, first of all, the home plate umpire, C.B. Buckner, certainly left his mark on the game, really giving favorable, non-favorable calls, however you want to say it, to both teams. I mean, there was, especially to the outside part of the plate to right-handers, I mean, very favorable calls there, really for both sides. And yeah, with Fairbanks, it seems you're right. He's allowing pretty much a base runner every time he comes up. Not necessarily what you want out of a guy that's going to be closing games potentially in the postseason in the ninth inning, but he was able to get out of it. I would say maybe his issue with the control, just his motion. I mean, he was throwing 100 miles an hour tonight. Just took him a little while to kind of narrow that in, and hopefully moving forward it won't be to that extent. And I agree with you with Glass. Now, the line, if you just look at the box score, was pretty much identical to Blake Snell's, save for Glass and having a couple more strikeouts. But you're right. I mean, just right out of the gate was establishing the fastball as fast as we've ever really seen him throw. 101 consistently in the first couple innings, and he was dropping the curveball in for strikes, which is something that Blake Snell could not do yesterday, and made those Yankees hitters kind of have to respect both pitches. And yeah, he was cruising there for a good while.
Yeah, and I didn't watch too much of the game yesterday, but the little bit that I saw Blake Snell struggling, I kept thinking about what you've always said on the show about Snell, where he seems to always have trouble with that slider, down and away. He seems to have trouble locating it. He's always trying to throw it as a strikeout pitch, and hasn't been working out for him too much. And last night, we saw how that went. So hopefully it's something that I'm sure he's aware of it. Like, he seems to be one of those guys that seems to be super hard on himself when things don't go his way, and he's always trying to find a way to work on it. So, just a bad outing in my opinion. I think a lot of people from what I've seen online and comments and stuff were kind of they're kind of giving Cash a hard time for leaving Snell in. But I ultimately think it was the right move, leaving him in a little longer yesterday, just because you don't want to burn through that bullpen too quickly on the very first game, especially when you have 5 games in a row. So it's hard to critique Cash when he does something questionable, because like we've said before, his big brain moments have worked out more often than not. So he knows what he's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, with Kevin Cash, I think certainly keeping Blake Snell in and also leaving in John Curtis in the ninth inning. He was clearly kind of playing it conservative, and I think we can kind of knock him for that at times. But in a series like this, 5 games in 5 days, when the Yankees have burned through all their pitchers like they did with the bullpen game tonight, and the Rays have all their arms fresh, that's when you're going to see it come into play. And one thing I would say about Snell, I think we're all hoping that we're going to get to see him start Game 1 of the ALCS, but at least looking at this series, I can't imagine that he's going to start Game 5. I would imagine he'll probably come out of the bullpen in Games 4 or 5. And what we agree on with just kind of his slider, whether it's in a no or 1 strike count, trying to throw a strikeout pitch, which doesn't really make sense. But I think maybe in a 1 inning, 2 inning spot in the late innings of a game, a guy like that just won't allow batters to make contact off of his pitches. I think we may see that kind of payoff in like a David Price-ish kind of thing there in the back end of games.
Yeah, and we saw. I mean, we saw Cash use Snell out of the bullpen last year, if I'm not mistaken, one of the playoff games as well, right?
Yeah, he saved
right? Against Houston. Maybe he came in, right?
Yeah, he saved Game 4, and then he pitched, I think, an inning and a third in Game 5 after I think starting Game 2.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him kind of pitch out of the bullpen at some point. I always get a little bit worried when you start putting these guys in these different types of situations. I mean, pitchers are pitchers. That's what they do. They're going to go out and pitch. But I don't know. Like, I guess I've never been in the situation where, like as a starter, you get put in like halfway through an inning with people on base. Like, that's got to throw you off somehow. So I'm always a little skeptical about that move. But it is what it is, and like these guys, they know what they're doing, and this is what they get paid for. So like, it'd be interesting to see how that goes as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good to know that Snell, because he proved it, that he can pitch in the late innings of games. To your point, they're not going to want to bring him in with men on base, because at that point you're pitching out of the stretch instead of the windup, and that can be a little tricky for starting pitchers. And then we've never seen Glasnow, I believe, in relief, although he did start his career in Pittsburgh as a reliever, so he's got that experience as well, so maybe we'll see him down the line. So I think it lines up really well. Cash, as we said, he played Game 1 conservative. I think he got by pretty well tonight. I mean, Nick Anderson will probably be available tomorrow. They've got, Fairbanks maybe tomorrow, Castillo, and then Ryan Thompson. So he's got the whole A-pen ready for hopefully maybe 4 or 5 innings from Morton. So I think they're looking good for Game 3.
Yeah, I was actually wondering what you thought, or like what your opinion is on like Nick Anderson and Diego Castillo going multiple innings, because I always get a little nervous seeing these like 1 inning guys that are throwing like close to 100 miles per hour. The guys that they're not really used to going multiple innings, so I always get a little nervous when we see them coming out for the second time, and they've been sitting on the bench for like 15, 20 minutes in between. Like, I'm just wondering, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and especially a guy like Nick Anderson that's such a valuable asset to your team. I think we saw him do that for the first time, I want to say either this year or as a Ray, in Game 1 of the wild card set against the Blue Jays. He went an inning and 2/3, pitched 29 times, and we thought he wouldn't be available in Game 2. He pitched the next day, got a 6-pitch inning. And I think tonight it was more an issue of circumstance. I'm looking to where he came in. He faced Castillo, put a couple of men on in the 7th, so he comes in to face Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, and Aaron Judge, so some big hitters there, and of course, as Nick Anderson does, he strikes them all out. And then the spot was in the 8th. You can either have him face Aaron Hicks, Luke Voigt, and Giancarlo Stanton, which are 3 huge hitters, or pass it off to Pete Fairbanks. And I think Cash just really liked the matchups. I think in that spot, when it's the top of the order, again, that was Hicks, Voigt, and Stanton, you roll the dice and go with Anderson, and he gets the 3 outs easily, and then you let Fairbanks face some not-so-great hitters. I mean, they're still good, but, Urshela, Torres, and Frazier are a lot less daunting than the other ones. So with Anderson pitching 29 times in the wild card set and pitching the next day, he pitched 22 times tonight, so all indicators would say he'll probably be good to go tomorrow. So he was still within that range, even pitching 2 innings.
That's right. Yeah, and it worked out in that sense, and like it was clearly the right move, because if you'd taken him out, like I'm assuming he would have gone with Pete in the 8th inning if he didn't make Anderson go that extra inning, and then like who do you call out for the ninth? So like I mean, it was the right move, even with that scare with Pete. But I think he pitched against the Blue Jays too, right, Pete?
He did, yeah. He got his first save actually of the season. It came in game one. Yeah, he got the ninth inning. Gave up hit and 2 strikeouts, and yeah, did not appear in game 2. So yeah, he has pitched a ninth inning already. So he's got that, done it twice already.
Right. Yeah. He looked a little rattled coming out today, and you know, it's understandable. Like, you're facing, you know, the Yankees lineup. These are like one of the most dangerous lineups in all of the major leagues, and like, I think it just took him a little bit to sort of you know, find the strike zone there, and at least it worked out, and hopefully that'll be a huge confidence boost for him moving forward, because you know, we really can't afford to be walking the two leadoff guys basically in the ninth inning when you're that close. So
yeah, they had Ryan Thompson warming up, and he had pitched 21 times in 2 innings yesterday, and I know they really didn't want to bring him in, and I think it was big for Fairbanks to be able to walk out of that ninth inning, you know, on his own. So yeah, I think that was a question you asked earlier. If Anderson didn't get those 6 outs, that would have probably been pushed for Thompson in the ninth, which he definitely didn't like. So Nick Anderson able to get the 2 innings, and then Ryan Thompson will definitely be able to go tomorrow. So yeah, Cash has played. I would say he's played this series brilliantly so far, that it's tied 1 game apiece.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And you know, another, just I guess to end things in the positive, I heard them saying over the broadcast that today the Rays pitching combined struck out 18 batters, which was, I guess it's a new, like, first most strikeouts in a postseason game ever. So I mean, you know, that's a pretty cool stat to sort of have under your belt. Glass now having 10, or was it 10 wins in a row, or 10 wins?
They've won 9 straight games that he started. The Rays have.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, so I mean, he's really shaping up to be. I mean, he's always been a pretty solid starter, and like, he's somebody that you can always trust. But this year, man, I don't know. He's really stepped up to the plate and delivered for the Rays in really big ways, and I think I think he's going to be a big part of this team moving forward, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to see him maybe develop that third pitch, that changeup more, so he's not just a fastball, curveball guy. That's why Snell gets the nod in game 1, that he has the 4 pitches. But yeah, totally agree. Glasnow is going to be huge moving forward. He's been so fun to watch this year.
Oh, actually, I was going to ask you one more thing. What kind of pitches does Anderson have? Like, besides he has a fastball and like a cutter or something, or what do you know?
I'll look to see what ESPN has. I mean, as far as I know, there's a curveball. I don't think he's throwing changeup. So let's see. Yeah, four-seam fastball, curveball. It looks like to me he's got just those 2 pitches, but maybe there's a fastball that has cutter action.
Yeah, because I was going to ask. I was, you know, watching him pitching today. There was one pitch in particular. I can't remember who he was facing. That it was kind of inside the plate, and it was like 86 miles per hour. And even Dave and Andy they didn't even know what kind of pitch it was, because I don't think they've ever seen one at that speed from him. So I was just curious if he's kind of experimenting with like a changeup or something. I thought it was pretty interesting to see. I mean, usually you see heaters from him, right? And to see something at like 85 miles an hour is a big change for him.
Yeah, I was listening to the broadcast too, and I think, yeah, because his curveball sits at around that speed. I think, as Andy Fried was saying, it was just a curveball that didn't really break, which is dangerous up in the zone, and he got away with it. So, yeah, as far as I know, no changeup. He's just a fastball, curveball guy.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, like, that's kind of all I had to say for today. Just wanted to give you a quick shout and just share the victory, I guess, and the celebrations.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for calling in, Sebastian. Yeah, it's great when the Rays win, and you bring great points to the conversation as always. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks. All right, and that was Sebastian in Canada. as always, just a super awesome call. Sebastian, if you're still listening, thanks again for calling in. The show is always better when you are a part of it. So what we're going to do now at 10:20 or 12:28, I'm all over the place. We're going to take a quick break, give you some baseball scores. Also take some of your calls before we break into more of tonight's win. We'll break down the box score, go inning by inning, tell you everything you need to know, and then at the very end we'll preview tomorrow's game, Game 3. It will be Masahiro Tanaka v. Charlie Morton. So again, the number to call during the break, if you want to get on the show, talk Rays with me, you're certainly welcome to do so. We have a line open for you at 877-566-1020. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. HBC. All 4 division series were in action today in Major League Baseball. Of course, we know it, the Rays 7-5 over the Yankees. We have the Astros 5-2 over the Athletics in Dodger Stadium. The Astros take a 2-0 series lead in that best of 5. Valdez for the Stros going 7 innings strong. Sean Manaea taking the loss for the A's. In Houston, it was the Braves 9-5 over the Marlins. Ronald Acuna Jr. got hit by a pitch. Things got crazy after that. It was a big home run for Travis d'Arnaud. Also for Atlanta, they take a 1-0 series lead. And currently in action in the bottom of the 6th, it's the Padres and Dodgers from Arlington tied at 1. I know for the Dodgers, it was Mike Clevenger ready to go, which no one was really expecting, and he left in the second inning. The velocity was down, and it looks like he re-aggravated what kind of injury he has. So the Padres are still in play maybe to win this game against Walker Buehler. But not looking great necessarily for San Diego. Again, number to call during the break, 877-566-1020. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
HBC. And at 12:31, we are back on the William Haynes Show. During the break, the manager for the San Diego Padres got booted out of the game. It's still 1-1 in the bottom of the 6th, but the Dodgers have 2 men in scoring position, so maybe LA will end up breaking that one open in Game 1. Again, I'll give you the number to call one more time before we really dig into this thing. It is 877-566-1020. Have a line open for each and every one of you that would like to call in and talk Rays. But if not, I'll talk maybe kind of surface level takeaways, and then we'll dive deeper into it. From a pitching standpoint, we'll start there because I think even in a 7-5 game, you're not necessarily thinking pitching, but I think that was a huge part of the win. Tyler Glasnow, 5 innings. I would say 5 innings strong, and I think that's still accurate. 4 earned runs on 3 hits, 3 walks, 10 strikeouts, 2 home runs. It's really those home runs, and again, it was 2 home runs in his start against the Blue Jays, both to catcher to the catcher Jansen, and here 2 home runs both to Giancarlo Stanton. So if he can just get rid of one guy that seems to give him trouble, I mean, he could have gone deeper into this game. He threw 93 pitches, 58 for strikes. He faced 21 men, threw a first pitch strike to 13 of them, so not great as far as kind of getting ahead in counts early, but really put some guys away, and it seems as always he gets stronger as the start goes on, and that was fun to watch. Castillo got an inning clean. Well, Castillo started the 6th, walked the first man, and then Castillo wiped that 6th inning clean, and then started the 7th, got some trouble, so it was kind of just passing the potato down the line, and Nick Anderson cleaned up the 7th, got the 8th as well. Really no hits, no walks, but 4 strikeouts for Nick Anderson. Here, look at this line. 22 pitches, 19 for strikes through faced 6 men through first pitch strike to 5 of them. I mean, just really the only balls that I could think of that, as Sebastian had mentioned, it was kind of the curveball that didn't break, as what I presume it would be, that I think was inside and called the ball, and then maybe just a couple other fastballs or something that missed. I mean, he was there, really all automatic, got 3 strikeouts in 1 inning, and then came out the next inning and got another 1, 2, 3. I mean, he was just dynamic. And then we'll talk about it. Peter Fairbanks, what a wild adventure that 9th inning was. Gave up a hit, an earned run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 25 pitches, 14 for strikes. Faced 6 men through first pitch strike to 3 of them. I mean, he was just all over the place. Took him a while to establish the fastball, worked the first 2 men, and then got back-to-back strikeouts, gave up another hit, or gave up actually the first hit, and then got Aaron Judge to ground out to end the game. So really, again, just a wild 9th inning for the second game in a row. It looked like maybe the Rays' 9th inning man was going to blow it, but thankfully Nick Anderson really bringing a whole new definition to what it means to be a setup man. Because it's really flipped kind of the whole what I guess baseball people think of a bullpen to be. Because Nick Anderson, if the 6th inning, or 7th inning, 8th inning calls for it, he's there. It's whenever those top hitters are. So he faced the 9-1-2 hitters in the 7th. That was Sanchez, LeMahieu, and Judge, and then got the 8th inning as well against Hicks, Voit, and Stanton, and that opened the door up. Really for the 6, 7, 8 hitters for the Yankees, for Fairbanks in the 9th. So making it as easy on Pete as they possibly could have. And of course he had difficulty navigating through it. But I mean, you want to talk MVPs, Nick Anderson, as I keep pounding the table for. He's a huge part of this team. I mean, you want to talk most valuable players. He's a key cog. I mean, if you think of the Rays, the Rays as a team, as a game of Jenga, Nick Anderson is the block that no matter what you try and do, if you pull that block out, the whole thing's coming down. I think really in a lot of ways that whole team kind of can lean and revolve around him, because he, even if your starter has an off night, the entire bullpen can kind of work around him and keeps the offense in the game as well. And really was a huge part getting 2 innings clean. And not just, and we talk about this too, and I give kind of credit to Dave Wills on the broadcast on WDAE. Listen to his call of the game tonight along with Andy Freed. But Dave Wills says all the time, and he was a pitcher in college and a pitching coach as well. For a late inning reliever, I mean, if you're going to be one of those guys in the major leagues that gets paid the big bucks, not necessarily in the Rays case, but in those high leverage spots, not only do you have to be able to get outs, in the 9th inning consistently or whenever the inning calls for it, but you need to be able to do it efficiently as well, not drive the pitch count up, because you're valuable to your team and your team needs you night in and night out. So with Nick Anderson to throw 22 pitches, 19 for strikes, get hitters out easily, 3-pitch strikeouts, all of that stuff, allows the Rays to use him tomorrow and the next day, and hopefully take a commanding lead on the series here, as it's now turned into a best of 3. So I can't gush enough about Nick Anderson. I would say one of the most valuable players. And then you want to talk about offense. Austin Meadows led off, didn't do a whole lot until his 4th at-bat where he hit the home run, and that was fine and great. That was the 7th run of the game. Lau goes 0 for 4. Rosarena adds a couple of hits. G-Man Choi goes 0 for 1 with a couple of walks. Minnie Margot 1 for 2 with 2 knocked in. Further down the line, Joey Wendell really came through again, 2 for 3 with a walk, so it didn't really do much in game 1, so coming through in game 2. Willie Damas 0 for 4, but was good, very good defensively. Kiermaier 1 for 4 with a run driven in. That was a huge RBI single. And then Mike Zunino 1 for 4, but a huge 2-run homer. I know just kind of going down the list, but we'll get into more specifics later down the line. The way they lined up defensively, we'll start there. In the outfield from left to right, it was Randy Rosarena once again in left, Kiermaier in center, Starting in right field, it was Manuel Margot. And then in the infield from third to first, Joey Wendell at third base. At shortstop, it was Willie Adames. Brandon Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first. And Mike Zunino did the catching with Austin Meadows, the DH, and the starting pitcher of Tyler Glasnow. I believe this was the identical lineup to yesterday's game, but swap out the DH, Yandy Diaz, for the DH, Austin Meadows, getting the righty-lefty matchup, and really just huge to have Austin Meadows back. It doesn't look like he's going to be ready to play defense. In the eighth inning, he struck out, and the ball got away from the catcher Sanchez, and he didn't even try to run to first. That's not an effort thing for Meadows. That's just, I think it was, an oblique or something along the lines of that. He wasn't supposed to be back at all this year. Maybe best case scenario until the World Series if the Rays made it that far. And for him to be back just what it was a couple of weeks later is huge. And if all he's going to be is a DH and he's not going to be able to really run the bases, fine. He didn't really. All he had to do was very lightly jog around the bases tonight with the solo home run. Also did work a walk. Let me dig that up. That came in the second, and then right after that, it was the final out from Brandon Lau was a fly out. So Meadows didn't really even have to run the bases that competitively. So that there's always going to be that concern. I imagine, like late in the game, especially if he's a DH, you just have him pinch run and for Brett Phillips or whatever the case is, and then you can put in Yoshi or whatever to replace him at DH. So they've got options. Speaking of Yoshi, he had a pinch hit appearance. He went 0 for 1, and then Brett Phillips came in to play right field as a defensive replacement. Also had an at bat. Went 0 for 1, so not quite as aggressive with the moves. The Yoshi move was actually quite aggressive at the time of the game. It was in the bottom of the fourth, pinch hitting for Manny Margot. We look at the situation. It came with men at first and second with 2 outs, and at that point, that, to the best of my knowledge, would have been a 5-4 Rays lead. So they make the move there. Yoshi doesn't come through. He worked. It was a decent at bat, I suppose. It was on a 1-2 count, flew out to left. So, but I believe did put a pretty good charge on it. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the play where Clint Frazier almost got tangled up over there and left, and it looked like it could have been a home run, wasn't. But then Frazier again, just an adventure with him. Certainly in the outfield, as was Manny Margot in right. I don't know what it is. I mean, he played in San Diego for a couple years, probably more center than corners, but he looked lost out there in right, and thankfully it hasn't come through too much, although he actually did. It should have been ruled an error. It was a void double in Game 1. Neither here nor there at this point, but yeah, something to keep your eye on. I don't really understand why Margot is batting 5th. I post this on Twitter at WHBC Stream. The best explanation that I have for that is that with those big guys, if they can get on a Rosarena, Choi, whatever, or even Meadows or Lau, Margot can kind of bunt him over, and that hasn't really presented itself yet. Fine, Margot goes 1 for 2, knocks in a couple runs before he gets pinch hit for. So not bad in that, and that's I guess really all I have to say there. Looking at the box score, we'll go inning by inning. And I've run a bit long at this point, so I want to try and keep it if I can in a tight hour. So I'll kind of breeze through a little quickly in the inning by inning, and then we can preview tomorrow's game and get you out of here. I know it's late. I hate these 8 p.m. games. Thankfully, the rest of the games in this series, however long it goes, are going to be 7 p.m. starts as opposed to the 8 p.m. starts. And we know with TBS, they hog the commercial breaks and all that. Again, not my favorite thing to be on the air at a little bit after 12. But I definitely appreciate each and every one of you listening to the program tonight. It's why we do this thing. And everyone, all of our listeners mean a whole heck of a lot to the program. Keeps it going, all that. Again, top of the first inning, Tyler Glasnow gets DJ LeMahieu to line out in a couple of pitches, so that was a lot better than Blake Snell did in Game 1, where I think a 9-pitch at-bat to LeMahieu, where he ended up singling and came across to score. So already, you could tell that this game was going to be a little bit different right off the bat. Then Aaron Judge strikes out swinging, and in that at-bat, it was a ball. It was outside, and I didn't necessarily love that he was doing this, but a fastball at 101 miles an hour. And, I mean, he may have touched 101 at some point in his career, and maybe the radar gun in San Diego was a little trigger happy. I don't know exactly how that works. But I mean, he was going out crazy. I was looking at his last start against the New York Mets, his final tune-up, and then his playoff start against the Blue Jays. I mean, really just sits in at around 98, 99, can occasionally pump out 100. But here in the first couple innings, I mean, he was getting 99, 100, 101. I mean, he was very fired up for this start. I know he had some friends and family in the stadium tonight, but I mean, he was ready for this moment, and yeah, I mean, he was coming out there, and also establishing the curveball in that at bat to Aaron Judge, starting him off with 2 curveballs in the zone. Judge took them both, looking, all of a sudden he's down 0-2. Glasnow misses 3 times, but then gets him to strike out, swinging on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. So there's the beauty of Tyler Glasnow. You just can't keep up with both of those pitches at once. He walks Aaron Hicks to put on a base runner and gets Luke Voit to strike out on 3 pitches. It was a couple of curveballs and a fastball in there at 100 that Voit couldn't catch up to. In that first inning, Glasnow threw 18 pitches, 10 for strikes. That was opposed to a first inning from Snell of 20 pitches, 13 strikes. So kind of the same, but a little bit better start there. Bottom of the first. I can't believe I haven't even gotten to this yet. Oh my goodness, this just shows you how busy of a night this was. Deivi Garcia on the mound for the Yankees. He was a guy that had gone deep into games, made his debut, a 21-year-old, I believe, from the Dominican Republic. I think he throws mid-90s. He sits at around 5'10", 5'11", as opposed to the 6'8" Glasnow, so that was kind of cool to see that contrast. And I'd anticipated, maybe go 4 or 5 innings. They're going to protect him as far as how many times he goes through the lineup. Well, instead, he faces 4 men in the game. It was only pitched the first inning, and I think the Yankees took a page out of the Rays playbook, if you will, maybe from 2018, and they I can't help but laugh. They brought out the opener, and it blew up in their face, and it was just seeing everyone on Twitter. You know how rabid Yankees fans are about stuff, how Aaron Boone is the worst manager in the world because he has Deivi Garcia pitch the first inning and then pulls him for no one else but Jay Happ, who got absolutely roughed up by the Rays. So excuse me for chuckling. I can't help it. It was just love to see the Yankees do stuff like this. But it was Deivi Garcia in a way that we didn't quite expect in the first inning. Austin Meadows flies out to center. That was on an 8-pitch at bat. Was taking some fastballs, taking stuff out of the zone, so the eye was there. Didn't take any pitches in the zone that I can see, and flies out on a fastball that ran a little bit outside. Could have maybe been ball 4, but with the way that CB Buckner was calling the balls and strikes, who knows? So that's out number 1. Brandon Lau lines out, and then again, so a lot of parallels to game 1. With 2 outs, bases clear, Arozarena comes up, boom, home run, solo shot, 363 feet to right field. I believe that was kind of the same case as in game 1 as well. It was in a 6-pitch at bat. It was a 3-2 count, and he had taken a strike looking at changeup outside to him, and he started to walk to first base like he had gotten walked, and CB Buckner kind of, I guess, sarcastically kind of shouts out the strike call, and Arozarena goes back, and he shrugs the shoulders, says, fine, you won't walk me, I'll hit a home run, and he goes 363 feet to right to make it 1-0 Rays. Choi gets hit by a pitch, maybe some potential retaliation, who knows. And then Margot grounds out to the pitcher to end the inning. So at the end of 1, the Rays up 1-0. Top of the second, Glasnow still on, of course. And the first man that he faces, who gave him a lot of trouble tonight, Giancarlo Stanton. It was a 2-2 count, a curveball that was up in the zone, and Stanton, as you would expect, just absolutely teed off on it. 374 feet to right. This mark came into play later in the game, but he's the first Yankee, and their playoff records are just so bizarre. The first Yankee hitter to hit a home run in 3 consecutive plate appearances since Reggie Jackson, Mr. October himself, I think, in 1977. So Stanton, for all the crap he gets from Yankees fans, he has been absolutely lights out. I think his 4th home run of the postseason in I think just as many games. So that's absolutely crazy. Hits a home run to tie it up, and again, more parallels to game 1. The Rays get a lead, and the Yankees take it right back. That's just how they do things. But Glasnow was able to settle down. After that, gets Urshela to ground out to short, and then strikes out both Gleyber Torres and Clint Frazier. Clint Frazier, a 1-2-3 strikeout pitch, 2 curveball lookings, and then got him to swing at a curveball in the dirt. So absolutely toying with hitters was Glasnow at points in this game. Bottom of the second, in comes J Happ, out comes Deivi Garcia, the lefty J Happ. We had talked about Yankees fans hate him. He's an old guy. He's kind of past his prime. He was on the 2008 Phillies. Didn't appear in the World Series, but when they beat the Tampa Bay Rays, just to give you an idea of how old J Happ is at this point. Joey Wendell reaches on an infield single. Props to him for running it out. I think it was a play where it just went far enough, got in between the pitcher and the first baseman. Actually, no, it was actually down the left field line, so that came a little bit later. But 7-pitch at bat, first against J Happ. He started off 0-2 and was able to work back into the count, so props to Wendell. He was absolutely dynamic tonight. Played a great third base, made a nice play in the final out, 2 for 3 with a walk. So I'm a huge Joey Wendell guy, came in huge. So he got on base to lead off the second. Adames flies out in the first pitch that he sees. It's a middle fastball at 92. You'd like him to do a little more against that than an unproductive out, but it was what it was. Kevin Kiermaier struck out on 4 pitches, just didn't really a non-competitive at-bat. Looking at the score sheet for him, strike out on an 0-2 count, a pop out on an 0-1 count, a single on an 0-1 pitch, and he flew out to center on a full count. And we had talked about that. I had noticed in the series against the Blue Jays that for whatever reason, his approach in the postseason, he just wants to swing at the first pitch in the at-bat or the second pitch or whatever, and he's recording a lot of outs early in counts. Would like to see him maybe work more walks because of how good he is on the base path. So there he goes in a 4-pitch at-bat, striking out. So then with 2 outs and a man on first, up comes Mike Zunino. You don't think much of it? No! Big Z! Zunino, man. 412 feet to left. Scores both himself, and Joey Wendell makes it 3-1 Rays. I was beside myself watching it on TV. I had just penciled it in as a strikeout on my scorecard and had moved on with my life. Mike Zunino had other thoughts. It was a 1-2 pitch. It was a fastball at 93 that ran a little bit inside, and Zunino was able to pull it. Credit to him. 412 feet is a long way. And we had talked about that with Zunino. He's not going to work great at bats, but he will run into one. And, 93, running a little bit into him. And Mike Zunino's not going to have a problem with that. Again, 412 feet, pulls it to left. Makes it a 3-1 game in favor of the Rays. Meadows works a walk in a 7-pitch at bat, which is fine. Taking some good pitches, fouling some off. That's all good and fine. And then Brandon Lau flies out on the first pitch to end the inning. But after 2, it was 3-1 Rays. Top of the third, Glasnow gives you just the response that you want. 1-2-3 inning, strikes out the 9-man Sanchez, gets LeMahieu to ground out to shortstop, and gets Aaron Judge to fly out to center. I'm just give it to you now because I feel like I'm going to forget it. In the first inning, Tyler Glasnow threw 18 pitches, 10 for strikes. In the second inning, 19 pitches, 13 for strikes. In the third inning, 16 pitches, 10 for strikes. In the fourth inning, 23 pitches, 14 for strikes. And in his fifth inning, 11 pitches, 9 for strikes. And he faced one man in the sixth. He walked Aaron Hicks before being pulled out, but we'll get to that in a second. So relatively efficient. Had a couple of innings that were around 20 pitches, but fine. Ends up getting through 5 under 100, and with the way that Cash set up the bullpen after kind of playing it conservative in game 1, was able to go to the pen and get a crucial win, because this would have been trouble if the Rays were down 2-0, but instead it's tied 1 game apiece. And so good to see Glasnow, after his offense gives him a lead, to shut down the 8-9-1 hitters. I mean, and again, Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, these are some of the best hitters in the world. Well, I don't know about Gary Sanchez, but props to Tyler Glasnow for getting it done. Bottom of the third, the Rays pour it on even more against J Happ. Arozarena grounds out to third to start it. Then Ji-Man Choi, working a walk as he has been so prone to do, only gets 1 strike in the at-bat. So credit to him. Just took some pitches, including some on the borders against C.B. Buckner. I don't know what it was. At times a huge, ginormous zone, and at times it was microscopic. It was just impossible to determine what was going on in his mind. But anyway, Choi works the walk to put a man on. Then Manny Margot, who had an absolutely dreadful game one. I had basically pinned, I didn't pin the loss on him, but I made him tonight's big loser, I guess if we're going to do an Impracticals Jokers thing. He made basically the error in the outfield and then struck out with the bases loaded, and that the game could have gone a lot differently. Well, comes back tonight. 2-run homer, 411 feet to center, scores himself, and Ji-Man Choi makes it, again, a 5-1 Rays lead. Puts Tampa Bay in the driver's seat. Wendell, again, reaching on an infield single. That was the one where it got in between, basically, the pitcher and the first baseman gets on. Always hustles, that's great. 2 infield singles, there you go, that's what hustle will get you. Then Willie Adames is safe on an E1. It was just a throwing error to first for Jay Happ. And then Adames gets all the way to second. That moves Joey Wendell to third. So they've got second and third with 1 out. With the 8 and 9 hitters coming up. So in a 5-1 game, a chance to add on. Make it 7-1. Put the game away right there. Zunino pops out. And then at bat fouled off a sinker right down the middle. And then popped out on the same pitch. Both 88-mile-an-hour sinkers. So disappointing there. And then Mike Zunino, this is what you expect. Basically comes back down to earth. I know he's doing a kind of a Kelly Shopik thing. If you're not familiar, Game 1 in the ALDS 2011 against the Astros, the catcher who was not a good hitter, hit 2 home runs against the Texas Rangers in Game 1 of that series. And like I said, Zunino doing a Kelly Shopik thing. But with men at second and third and 2 outs, he strikes out. And including some pitches outside of the zone, but whatever. Rays win, so it's fine. Top of the 4th, Stanton makes the Rays pay once again. So Glasnow in the bump. Aaron Hicks on an 0-2 pitch, singles off a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It was about middle, so velocity is not everything. The switch hitter, so basically, I guess really the only lefty technically batter that Glasnow faced tonight. Singles, leadoff single. Then Luke Voit walks on a 4-pitch at-bat. Really kind of all fastballs into him, just couldn't get the control there. First and second, nobody out in the 5-1 game. Then Giancarlo Stanton makes you pay in a 1-1 count. Gave him 3 fastballs, which I don't like that. Middle in to the righty, 97 on the fastball. Took him 458 feet to left. It got it out until, I don't know what it was, the second, a second tier pavilion or whatever kind of crap they've got at Petco Park. Took it out onto the food court or something it looked like. It was a moonshot. Scored himself, Aaron Hicks, and Luke Voit, and cut the lead of the Rays to just 1. It was 5-4. And then another good response from Glasnow gets 3 straight strikeouts of Urshela, Gleyber Torres, and Clint Frazier. Bottom of the 4th now with just a 1-run lead. Jay Happ on once again. Meadows flies out to center. Lau grounds out to the pitcher. Then Randy Arozarena singles on a first pitch slider. So he's doing some damage again. Reaches base twice in his first 3 at-bats. Gets to second base on the Gary Sanchez special, which is just to say a pass ball. Doesn't matter because Ji-Man Choi is walked anyway, so that's the second walk that he worked in a row. Ended up getting on base 3 times without ever having to swing the bat, basically. So that's the Ji-Man Choi experience for you. So first and second with 2 outs. And that's where they pinch it Margot for, or they hit, pinch it Tsutsugo for Margot. And the Yankees bring in Ottavino, the righty, and the Rays combat that with the lefty Tsutsugo to explain it a little bit better. But it was not a great at-bat for Yoshi. Swings and misses at a slider down and in. Then takes a sinker up and in for strike 2. So he starts off 0-2. Then takes a sinker outside for ball 1, and on a 1-2 count, another sinker basically in the same spot as the take for ball 1 flies out to left. But I believe that was a play almost took him out of the yard, and Clint Frazier almost lost it in the San Diego sun out there in left field, I guess it was. Missed opportunity there, so they leave some more meat on the bone. And before I forget, they left a total of 6 men on base, go 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. It was Kiermaier, the only man that came through. He went 1 for 2. Zunino, Adames, and Tsutsugo all 0 for 1 as well with runners in scoring position. Top of the 5th, Brett Phillips comes in to play right field. That was the substitution. Glasnow in his 5th and not final inning. He gets a 1-2-3 inning. Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, and Aaron Judge. I believe that's the second time he got those guys in order, including LeMahieu and Judge. Those strikeouts were all on 3 pitches. So the good morning, good afternoon, and good night. So good stuff from Glasnow. They're almost ended on a high note. Bottom of the 5th, Adam Ottavino still on. Wendell walks, steals second. Adames grounds out. Then they bring in Jonathan Loaizaga. Kiermaier singles Wendell in from second base. That made it 6-4 Rays, so it added on to that 1-run lead. And then Zunino lined into a double play. He lined, lined to the second baseman LeMahieu and Kiermaier, who was running, I guess, or couldn't get back to first base in time. It was fine. Not a base running error or anything like that. They just kind of ran into an unlucky play. Just kind of the way the shift was, too. I mean, that's a base hit kind of ball as far as kind of the exit velocity type stuff. So they catch a tough break there for good on Kiermaier for driving in a run. That's something that, I don't know, I would say he's kind of struggled in, but I think he's actually been good with runners in scoring position during this weird 60-game irregular season, we'll call it. Top of the 6th, Glasnow is back on, probably just to face Hicks and Voit. The third man up would have been Stanton, and Stanton homered the first 2 times off of Glasnow, so I probably would like to avoid that. But he walks Aaron Hicks in 6 pitches, and they were non-competitive, just fastballs not finding the zone. I was still pumping out 98, but Cash had said enough. Out comes Tyler Glasnow, in comes Diego Castillo, and he gets the Luke Voit and Giancarlo Stanton both striking out swinging in 3 pitches. I mean, he was throwing, the sinkers were great, the sliders were awesome, didn't throw a fastball at all in that sequence, and then to Gio Urshela got him to line up to left. I guess that is his quote-unquote fastball because it's at 97, but it's a sinker because it's got movement. So good stuff for him there. Was working the pitches. A drastic movement, especially on that sinker. A pitch at 98 to move that much is crazy, and we've always known he's got that kind of arm talent, but just can he utilize it in the back end of games? He's kind of doing what Jose Alvarado, to be honest, he's doing what Alvarado couldn't do, and getting some big outs here in the postseason. So that's cool to see. He would also come out in the 7th, and that was not so great. Bottom of the 6th, Jonathan Loaizaga still on. Austin Meadows, he's not done. 414 feet to center with the bases clear. It came on a 2-1 count. He got a fastball at 97, essentially kind of middle, and takes it out of the park. So that was good to see. It kind of looked like it was going to be a routine fly out to center, and that ball just kept carrying, to be honest with you. It's a deep center, I believe, in Petco Park, and the 2, 3, 4 hitters didn't do anything after that. Loud grounds out to third, Arozarena strikes out, and Choi grounds out to first base. So it was 7-4 after 6, and as you know, the score wouldn't change too much after that. Top of the 7th, Diego Castillo still comes on because at that point you've got 9 outs left to get, and basically 3 guys that can get it. So, hoping to get maybe another 3 from Castillo, get 3 from Anderson and 3 from Fairbanks. Well, Castillo kind of throws a wrench into those plans. Walks Torres to start the inning, and he had him in a 2-2 count and then ended up walking him. And then Clint Frazier singled. So you got men at first and second with nobody out in a 7-4 game, bringing up the tying run, and Gary Sanchez. Well, Kevin Cash decides to bring in his weapon, Nick Anderson, and a little bit of concern for Nick Anderson. His strikeout rate per 9 or whatever the stat is huge. He strikes out about half the batters that he faces. It didn't strike out anybody, I believe, in that outing against the Blue Jays. An inning and 2/3, no strikeouts. So 5 outs, none of them via the strikeout, really? Well, this time he certainly kind of put that stuff to bed. Strikes out Gary Sanchez, strikes out DJ LeMahieu, and strikes out Aaron Judge. So first and second with no outs, strikes out 3 consecutive batters, including LeMahieu and Judge. That's just what Nick Anderson does. And then in the bottom of the 7th, Jonathan Holder comes on, and he gets Brett Phillips, Joey Wendell, and Willie Adames. Top of the 8th inning, Nick Anderson stays on to get another 3 outs. He gets Hicks to fly out to center on the first pitch. Luke Voit strikes out on 3 pitches, and Giancarlo Stanton lines out. So gets 6 outs, just as easy as you can get him again. No hits, no walks, and 4 strikeouts and 6 outs. I mean, he was absolutely electric. He's good for those automatic outs. Kevin Cash is kind of going to push his limits here. Having him, 22 pitches, pitching on the back-to-back. He did it already Just again, to take you back to that wild card series, in Game 1, he pitched an inning and 2/3, so he came on to start another inning, and then threw 29 pitches in that outing, 20 for strikes, by the way, and then came out the next day, which we did not expect. I had previewed that game and said Nick Anderson's not available. Hopefully you can get out of that and avoid a Game 3. Well, Nick Anderson pitches the 9th inning in 6 pitches. It's almost like he knew he couldn't go very long. And the one of the reasons I said that he wouldn't appear in that game is because of the 3-batter minimum. He can't just come in to face a big righty and a 6-pitch at bat. He has to face at least 3 men. Well, Nick Anderson, not a problem. How's 3 outs and 6 pitches? So you can't pencil that in, certainly. And obviously, I don't know if that's not necessarily a strategy. You just want to go out there and get outs. But I'll look and see kind of what Kevin Cash is saying, and definitely follow at WHBC Stream on Twitter, and I'll be keeping my eyes on all that stuff. But you got to believe if they're in a position, only if they're leading, most likely, or a tie game late. Because if you take, it's now a best of 3. If you take, if you take Game 3 here, you're pushing the Yankees on the brink of elimination, and then you just take one of the next 2, and you're on your way to your first ALCS since 2008. So, I think they'll be aggressive with him now. They played the first game conservative, so they can be aggressive in the future. So they've set themselves up nicely. Meanwhile, the Yankees have kind of been burning through the pitchers that they have. But getting back to the inning-by-inning stuff, bottom of the 8th against Nick Nelson. I thought maybe he'd be a starting pitcher type, but it looks like after Tanaka, if there are, there will be a Game 4, and if there is a Game 5, it looks like a lot of bullpen days for the Yankees. Nick Nelson gets Kiermaier, Zunino, and Meadows, including Big Z and Meadows striking out, swinging there. And then top of the 9th, final inning there, Peter Fairbanks comes on after Nick Anderson got 6 outs. All Fairbanks needs is 3 outs, and I had said he had already gotten his first postseason save. That came in Game 1 of the wild card set against the Blue Jays. I don't know why ESPN resets the stats every single round. It would be nice to be just to have it for a collective postseason, but that's whatever. A leadoff walk to Gio Urshela. That's not what you like to see. Only threw 1 strike, and yeah, I got to do this. Only threw 1 strike in the count. He was throwing 99 and 100 on the fastball, but it wasn't really placing him well. To the righty Urshela, he missed down and away on a slider. He missed up and he missed outside. So, he was kind of all over the place. Walks the leadoff man, really couldn't throw strikes to save his life. Then he walks Gleyber Torres in a 7-pitch at-bat. He missed outside, missed outside on a slider, missed high and outside on a fastball, and missed just middle up on a fastball. So, just to righties throwing a lot of pitches in the left-handed batter's box that they were just kind of spitting on. And again, I'll just reiterate this: Nick Anderson getting those big outs. He gets just one more time. He gets Gary Sanchez, DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Hicks, Luke Voigt, Giancarlo Stanton. So all Fairbanks has to get is the 6, 7, 8 hitters: Urshela, Torres, and Frazier. But there he goes, walking Urshela and Torres. So you can only give Fairbanks the spot. You can't get him through it. So to see him walk the 6 and 7 hitters, very frustrating. But then he comes back. Looks like he kind of found his strike zone a little bit. Starts off 2-0 to Clint Frazier, a foul ball. And then it was 3-1. You're thinking, oh boy, he's going to walk the bases loaded. Well, a strike looking on a fastball, and then a strikeout swinging on a fastball at 99 for out number 1. Then the 9-hitter, Gary Sanchez, which Yankees fans have to be absolutely fuming at what they're getting out of Gary Sanchez right now. Strikes out on 3 pitches. On the night, he goes 0 for 3 and gives them nothing and a pass ball. You might as well just play Kyle Higashioka at this point. At least he's good behind the plate. So you get out number 2. Then DJ LeMahieu singles on the first pitch, which the Le Machine, whatever. The first pitch you see, singles on a fastball, kind of middle up at 98, and that's just what he does. Scores Urshela, and then runners at the corners in a 7-5 game. So you have the tying run at first base in LeMahieu, and the go-ahead run at the plate in Aaron Judge. And they had Ryan Thompson at that point warming up. Now, Ryan Thompson had appeared in Game 1. He had pitched let's see. He pitched 2 innings of 21 pitches, so I guess he was technically available. I think they wanted to stay away from him because he'll certainly be available in kind of an A bullpen spot tomorrow, guaranteed. But they had him available. Kevin Cash just decides to go with Aaron Judge. Again, I gave you the spot. It was huge. Started him off 0-2. And then got him to ground out to Joey Wendell. Threw him all sliders in that at-bat, and the one on the final out was just kind of middle, and all a Judge could do would just ground it to Joey Wendell, who makes a nice flip to first base, and they get him in time. So that was a big spot. Rays win 7-5. Rays win. Never, well, I don't know about never, but not in a while has it felt this sweet. To tie this series at 1 game apiece. Again, it's a best of 3, basically starting tomorrow, and we'll transition to that now. Charlie Morton v. Masahiro Tanaka, a couple of right-handers. Charlie Morton in the regular season 2-2 with a .474 earned run average, and Masahiro Tanaka 3-3 with a .356 average. We'll look at Charlie Morton's tune-up start on September 25th against the Phillies. Went 5 innings, 3 earned runs on 7 hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts, 93 pitches. So it's tough to say. I mean, that's just what he was. He had some injury concerns. He's really just going to be a guy that gets you 5 innings. On Sunday, I'd looked back and just watched Game 3 of the ALDS where the Rays were down 2-0, and they needed a good start for Morton against Greinke at the Trop, and he threw a 30-pitch first inning, a 20-pitch second inning, and still ends up getting through 5, I think giving up just a run or so, and just, well, I can actually pull it up right here. I mean, he pitched great in that game. Yeah, 5 innings and just a run, and in the other elimination game, the wild card game, 5 innings of 0 earned run ball. It gave up an unearned run, I think, on an error. And that's what both starts, 5 innings, 94 pitches, and 93 pitches in the other one. That's what Charlie Morton is. And you know, pitches great in elimination games. Thankfully, it's not one here tomorrow, but he's 36 years old. He's seen every imaginable spot he could possibly have. He's closed out a World Series. So he's going to be ready for the opportunity, although Masahiro Tanaka has been a great postseason pitcher for the New York Yankees as well. Charlie Morton has appeared twice against the Yankees. The first time, 2 innings, he got hurt. 2 innings, a 1-run ball. That doesn't really matter, though. And then coming off the injury, pitched 2 innings in Yankee Stadium, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, but no hits or runs. So I really don't know what to take away from that. Not much. Just look at the tune-up start. But again, this is all I can say. This is what Charlie Morton is. 5 innings of probably 1 or 2 run ball in 95 pitches. That's what he's going to give you, and that's kind of on par for what the other Rays starters have given you. And then looking at Masahiro Tanaka in the regular season, he was 3-3 with a .356 earned run average. He's got a postseason start this year already under his belt, and it was not so good. 4 innings against the Cleveland Indians, 6 earned runs on 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 77 pitches. They make the early move to the pen there. And then in the regular season, he's faced the Rays a total of 3 times. The first time, 5 innings of 1-hit ball. The second time, 4 innings, 5 earned runs on 8 hits. And then in the third start, 6 innings, 2 earned runs on 3 hits. So kind of, it looks like kind of the Rays are finally learning to kind of get to him. I'll look at the last 2, just to give you an idea of kind of the Rays lineup in those games. The one where they got 2 runs in 6 innings, Ji-Man Choi led off. They got followed by Lau, Wendell. So Wendell batted 3rd in that game. Meadows hit cleanup. They had Tsutsugo batting 5th, Adames 6th, Kiermaier 7th, Margot 8th, and Michael Perez batted 9th. So Ji-Man Choi definitely could lead off against Tanaka if they like that at bat. Brandon Lau, of course, will be in there. Joey Wendell, I'd imagine, would be in there. Meadows will probably DH, so you wouldn't be able to play the lefty Tsutsugo unless you have one of them play the field. I wouldn't imagine Tsutsugo would play the outfield. If he's going to play the field at all, it would probably be third base, but that's going to take a lefty Wendell out of your lineup, so I'm not sure how you feel about that either. Kiermaier will be in there. And then, let's see, the other game where they got 5 runs in 4 innings. Meadows led off, Lau batted 2nd, Yandy Diaz batted 3rd, went 0 for 4. Ji-Man Choi cleaned up, went 0 for 4. Wendell, Adames, Tsutsugo, Kiermaier, Perez, and I guess I should have looked at how they actually fared. Meadows went 2 for 4. Lau got a hit. Wendell 1 for 4, Adames 1 for 4, Kiermaier 2 for 4. So you're seeing a lot of lefties doing some damage. And then in the other one that I completely neglected, no one really got any hits off of him. Adames went 3 for 3, and Kiermaier got a hit. So Kiermaier has good history, at least this year, against Tanaka. Adames is fine. He gets hits off of him. So I don't know. Not really a whole lot to take away from that. If I kind of had to guess how the lineup would look, I don't know, either Meadows or Choi probably to lead off. I don't think Yandy Diaz will appear in the game unless they have him late substitute as a DH. They'd rather have Meadows to get the lefty on righty. I guess let's do this. Outfield from left to right. Give me Arozarena in left because you have to keep him in no matter what, I would say. Kiermaier in center, and then they've been going Margot. I don't know if they want to stick with him. I guess they think he gives them a defensive advantage and whatever on offense with the stolen bases and whatnot. But you could go Phillips, you could go Renfroe, and I don't think they want him to play the field. But you have a Meadows that can go there as well. But I guess I'll give it to Margot, and then in the infield from third to first, I'll say they sacrifice defense for offense. So they put Tsutsugo at third base to get his at-bats against Tanaka. Adames at shortstop, Lau at second, G-Man Choi at first base. Just Mike Zunino will be the catcher, and then Charlie Morton the starter. Then if I didn't already say, Meadows the DH, and he'll be able to take his hacks that way. So that's it. That's all I can really say. Everyone in the bullpen is pretty much in play at this point. I would say, as I said, really only if it's a lead or a tie late will Nick Anderson pitch. That's the case anyway. But he pitched 2 innings, 22 pitches, so they want to be careful-ish with him. Peter Fairbanks pitched a 25-pitch inning. He'd probably be fine to go. Diego Castillo, a 24-pitch inning. So they weren't... I mean, Nick Anderson got out of 2 innings quicker than Diego Castillo, and Peter Fairbanks got out of 1. So that's kind of a crazy stat. I think I probably should have included that earlier. But you get the idea. And then Ryan Thompson, who pitched 2 innings yesterday, he got the day off. He'll be good. Oliver Drake will be fine. John Curtis, I don't know about that. Shane McClanahan could be good to go. And then let me just look at the roster, some other guys that they have. I mean, you know how the roster looks, but they've got the whole stable ready, so to speak. They've got Loop, Sleggers, and yeah, those are the only 2 that haven't appeared in this series. So they're going to be locked in and loaded and ready to go. A couple other notes, a lot of team records. I know Sebastian had mentioned one. For Davy Garcia, by the way, just for the Yankees, I'll throw this out. He was the youngest starting pitcher for the Yankees in a postseason game since 1950. I couldn't name the other guy that started back then. But for the Rays, setting some records, Sebastian had mentioned 18 strikeouts is a franchise playoff team record. That was huge. And Tyler Glasnow, he set a playoff franchise record for a player, 10 strikeouts. So those kind of coincided with each other. Franchise record, 10 straight games with 7 strikeouts with Tyler Glasnow. It just happened that 2 of them came in the postseason, so they got the mark here. And 4 home runs in this game ties a Rays playoff team record. I think that was against the Astros in one of those ALDS games. I believe game 3, if I had to guess. So a lot of marks set. Again, it's now a best of 3. I can keep saying it and keep saying it. So it's going to be fun. This is about as close as it gets, and we're going to see. I know I promised to talk Bucks. I don't know if I promised, but I mentioned maybe I would talk Bucks. Their win over the Chargers. I may glance at it tomorrow. I think the Rays will take precedence. The Bucks are also playing on Thursday Night Football, by the way, so we're going to keep our eyes on that, but mainly the Rays again. It'll be Charlie Morton v. Masahiro Tanaka tomorrow at 7 on TBS. That'll be great. Hopefully the Rays can get to Tanaka. Definitely just take the pitches low. Sit on the fastballs. He won't give you many, but take them. Hopefully they can take the commanding lead in the series. We'll be on the air after the final out of that game. And as always, we'll see you then.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.